Hi guys, and welcome back to I Speak English. My name's Hayley, and in this lesson I'm going to be showing you how to make the perfect speaking part 3 response for your Cambridge C2 exam. So if you are studying for the Cambridge C2 exam and speaking part 3 intimidates you quite a bit, you are not alone. This is a tricky task to do, even for native speakers. You know, I tried it myself and half the time I end up rambling, which is what you don't want to do. So in this video, I'm going to show you exactly how a high-scoring C2 candidate would structure their answer from, confident introduction to clear points with examples to a controlled conclusion, also including idioms and phrasal verbs, but without it sounding too forced. So if you want to stop rambling and start sounding like you are C2 level, this video is really going to help you with this task. Before we take a look at that, please do make sure you are subscribed to the channel. I put out videos every week, long-form videos and shorts every single day. So if you are studying for your Cambridge exam, my videos are going to help you. I also have a podcast as well, which is good for your listening and vocabulary, so you can check that out. And if you find this video useful, please do give it a like. It just helps to kind of reach more people who are also preparing for their C2 exam. Right, we're going to get into it then. Let's take a look. Alright, let's take a look at our C2 speaking part 3 task then. So, if you don't already know this is what your speaking part 3 task looks like, you'll get a kind of card. It'll have a question on it and 3 points. It lasts about 2 minutes and you need to speak continuously on your own. The other candidate in the exam is not involved in this part of the exam. You have to speak continuously for 2 minutes on this topic, hitting each of the points. Okay. One thing actually about the points, you don't necessarily have to use the points on the card. You can make up your own points as well if you want. If you think, oh, I haven't really got much to say about this. But they're just there to help you and guide you so that you don't have to kind of make up your own stuff. But if you don't like them, you can swap them for something else. You'll get about 10 seconds to look at the card and the question and kind of gather your thoughts before you start speaking. And this task is basically like a mini spoken essay. That's how I would think about it if I were you. So it does need to be structured. You can't just waffle or ramble about stuff and expect to get high points. That's not going to work. So I'm going to show you a structure now that you can use to kind of keep you like on task and keep your speech a bit more organized, basically, so that you're not rambling. All right. So this is your structure here. Let's take a look. So what you need to do is short introduction, give like a general topic on the statement. This should probably last about 15 seconds if you kind of split up the time you've got. You want 15 seconds for your intro, 30 seconds per point, and then maybe 15 seconds for your conclusion. That's what I would do. Don't worry, they're not going to be like timing you, oh, has he done like 15 seconds and 30 seconds? That's not what I'm saying. That's just what I would aim for if I were you, to have a kind of balanced argument or a balanced speech, basically. So general kind of topic statement, say something about whatever topic you've been given. For example, let's say social media is your real topic. Say something, like in the last 10 years, social media has become everyone's go-to, as soon as you wake up in the morning, you pick up your phone. Just a general topic statement about the topic. Then, for each of your points that you need to hit, in order, again, to kind of stay organized, what I would do is give your point, explain it, say why, and then just give an example to back it up. Okay. So say, X point is detrimental because X, Y, Z, for example, that should take you about 30 seconds, and then immediately move on to your second point, do the same again, third point, do the same again. And then you want a conclusion. So your conclusion, just kind of sum up what you've said briefly. And then if you want, you can maybe choose one of the points that you think is more important or more detrimental or has a bigger impact. Choose one of them, and then end the task in that way. Okay. So intro, 3 points, point, explanation, example, and then conclusion. That's the structure that you're going to use. I'm going to show you an example now, in a second. One thing before we look at the example though, signposting is very important in this task. Examiners are looking, kind of listening rather, that you are signposting. So whenever you need to introduce something, you're using like introductive linking words. Whenever you want to contrast, you're using contrasting linking word. When you want to bring in a new point, you're using another linking word. This is going to help your speech to be more organised, and it's going to flow better. So for example, if you want to introduce something, if you're signposting, you can say it's often said that, or we live in an age where, or when, for example with the social media again, we live in an age when social media is everyone's go-to, or something like that. First point, you can say first off, or first and foremost. When you're moving on to your second point, you can say that being said, or having said that. It's a nice way to kind of contrast what your first point was. For your third point, again, if you want to bring something else in, you can say another factor to consider is X, Y, Z. And then if you're concluding, you can say to wrap up or to sum up. Okay. So just keep some of those linkers in mind, make sure that you're using them, and your speech will be a lot more organised. Okay. Alright. One thing to remember as well. Yes. Do try to use a wide range of vocabulary. It is important, vocabulary and grammar, but don't go too crazy with it. You still need to sound natural. This is something I often see a lot, particularly with C2 students. They tend to use a lot of idioms, try like cramming idioms and phrasal verbs in, and then it just sounds off. It doesn't sound natural. So yes, use a couple here and there. Try not to repeat yourself. Examiners don't like repetitive vocabulary. You do need a range. But keep it simple. Sometimes less is more, you know. Grammar-wise, any hypotheticals, this entire task is a hypothetical task. So any conditional forms you can use are helpful. Couple of inversion forms here or there just to kind of show off a little that you know it. But don't go crazy with it because you want to sound human, not, you know, like ChatGPT or something. Right, so before we take a look at an example, I do want to let you know I do give C2 Proficiency Lessons. I do have a group, and I also have, well, I have a group when I have enough people interested. Unfortunately, not a lot of people have been interested in group lessons recently, but I also give individual lessons as well. So if you want, you can go to www.englishclassesonline.co.uk and you can book a lesson with me there. Classes are interactive. Again, I do groups and individuals. We focus on exam techniques, but I also give lots of room for speaking practice. And more importantly, we work on your weaknesses, not just like the whole exam for the sake of it. So if you're struggling with something in particular, let me know, leave a comment, send me an email, and we can work on your weaknesses to get you to pass the exam. Alright, so let's take a look at an example then. So we'll use the same question that we had before. So what has the most influence on people's values? Your points are age, education, and community. Remember, we need a short introduction. You need point, explanation, example for each of these points. And then you need a conclusion. Okay. So let's take a look. We'll go section by section. We'll start with an introduction. What's that going to look like? So here is an example. So that's a really interesting question because I don't think people's values come from just one place. They tend to be shaped over time by a mix of personal experience and the environment people grow up in. That said, age, education, and community probably had the biggest impact, albeit in different ways. Alright, so you can see here that we've actually mentioned each of the points, so you can definitely do that in your introduction, kind of bring in the points that you're going to talk about, okay, age, education, community, and give a general statement about the topic itself. So you can see we've also used some linking expressions there, that said, okay. Something is shaped over time, so we've got some nice collocations there. We've got albeit, again, nice linking expression there. Alright, so make sure that you're using those linkers because they do really help to kind of organise your speech. Okay. So that's a nice introduction there. Moving on to our first point, which was age. So I put here your point explanation and example so that you can see it. Okay. So I've got to start with, linking word. Age definitely plays a role, mainly because as people grow older, they go through experiences that force them to rethink what really matters. Okay, so we've got play a role as well, nice idiomatic expression there. Explanation, why? When you're younger, you might place a lot of value on freedom or taking risks, but as responsibilities start to pile up, priorities often shift. So we've got place value on, collocation, pile up, nice phrasal verb there. Okay. For example, linking word, someone in their 20s might be happy to live day to day, whereas in later life, financial security or family tends to take centre stage. Another idiomatic expression. So you can see here that we've kept it pretty simple, like we've not gone crazy with grammar, we've not gone crazy with vocabulary. There's a couple of nice collocations, couple of idioms, phrasal verb. Vocabulary is pretty simple, but the main thing is it flows well and it's, it's just simple, really. It's communicated very well in a simple way. That's what examiners want from you. Can you communicate something clearly and efficiently, basically? Alright, that's our first point. Our second point, remember this is all in 2 minutes, okay? So obviously this is going on a bit longer because I'm explaining, but you should be able to do this in 2 minutes. Second point was education. Alright, that being said, so we've contrasted, okay? Contrasting linker. Education arguably has an even deeper influence as it shapes not only what people know, but also how they think. Inversion form used very naturally, okay? It's not crammed in there so that it sounds weird. Explanation. A good example, a good education doesn't just pass on information. It encourages people to question ideas and look at issues from different angles. Example. If education was simply about memorizing facts, it wouldn't have nearly the same impact on personal values. So we've got a conditional form here and phrasal verb there. So again, very clear, very concise. We're not crazy with grammar. We've got an inversion form and we've got a second conditional used very naturally, very fluently. Okay, so you don't need inversion after inversion after inversion. That's not what examiners are looking for. They're just looking that you can speak naturally. Okay. Our final point was community. Let's take a look. Another factor, okay, so we've got linking expression. Another factor that really shouldn't be overlooked is community. Okay, why? Explanation. Whether we realise it or not, the attitudes and beliefs of the people around us often rub off on us over time. Phrasal verb, to rub off on. Growing up in a close-knit community, for instance, can foster values like cooperation and a strong sense of responsibility towards others, whereas a more individualistic environment may encourage self-reliance. Okay, so again, nice phrasal verb, rub off on. If something rubs off on you, how do I explain this? Someone's behaviour normally rubs off on you, meaning it starts to affect you or influence the way that you behave. So if someone you know is like really happy all the time, and then you start becoming happy as a consequence, then their behaviour is rubbed off on you. Okay. We've got the word foster there as well. We've got close-knit community. We've got some nice vocabulary here. foster, close-knit, self-reliance. So again, just nice, simple vocabulary, but it's not overdone. It's not too much. It doesn't sound robotic. It doesn't sound like you tried to cram an entire dictionary in to your speech, because it's not necessary. Right, and then a conclusion. Let's take a look. How are we going to conclude our speech? To sum up, while age and community certainly shape people's values, I'd argue that education plays the most influential role overall, as it lays the foundations for how individuals interpret the world and make informed judgments. Okay, so we've got lay the foundation, another idiomatic expression there. To sum up, linking expression for organisation. Okay. Alright, and there you go. That's a response. I'm going to show you another response. I'm going to give a different question, and I'm going to show an extra response again in a minute. But that's the main thing I want you to realise here. You don't have to go crazy with vocabulary and grammar. Keep it simple. Hypothetical form here, an inversion there, phrasal verb here, an idiom there. Fine. Just don't repeat the same vocabulary. Okay. As long as the examiner understands everything you're saying, and you communicate clearly, you should be okay. Right. So we are going to look at a different question and a different response, but before we do, I just want to let you know I do have a podcast that I started a few weeks ago. It is an advanced podcast, but it's also appropriate for C2 learners as well. There's tons of interesting vocabulary. We cover different topics, the C1 and C2 level vocab in there. You get a free transcript with it, so you can see all of the vocabulary that I use, and it's in British English because I'm British, so it's in a very natural spoken way. So it's really good for kind of improving your listening if you're struggling with that. Really good for vocab as well. So check it out. It is on my YouTube channel. Just go to the playlist there and you'll be able to see that podcast and have a listen. Episodes are about 30 to 40 minutes long, so you can play it in the car when you're on your way to work or something like that. Have it on in the background, and it just might help you for your exam. Right, we're going to move on, and we're going to take a look at a different question. So, our question: what should the public prioritise in order to make an environmental difference? You have waste production, travel habits, and power use. So again, we need an intro, point, explanation, example, conclusion. Okay. If you want, you can write a comment. Leave me a comment with how you would answer this question. Think about what you would say, write it down, and leave it in the comments. And I'll take a look and give you some advice or give you any corrections if you need it. Right. So, what should the public prioritise in order to make an environmental difference? Waste production, travel habits, power use. Again, let's take a look. We'll go introduction. We'll look at each part of the speech first. So, over the last decade, environmental problems have had a massive effect on people's lives, and it seems to be getting worse every day. In my view, reducing waste, rethinking how we travel, and cutting down on power are all crucial, although they don't all have the same immediate impact. Okay, that's a really nice way to start. So you've got your kind of general statement over the last decade. Has it had an impact? And then we're bringing in our 3 points. Okay. Lovely introduction, really clear. Point 1. To begin with, waste production is an area where individuals can make a noticeable difference straight away. Single-use plastics and overpacking have become a major issue, and cutting back on them not only reduces pollution but also limits the strain on landfill sites. For example, if people were to swap disposable products for reusable ones, the amount of waste generated on a daily basis would drop significantly. Okay, so again, linking expression, phrasal verbs, we've got an inversion form, okay. Some nice collocations in here, so limit the strain on something, nice. Alright, point 2, that said, travel habits also play a major role, particularly in terms of carbon emissions. Short car journeys and frequent flights may seem convenient, but they quickly add up and take a heavy toll on the environment. If people were to rely on public transport or cycle for shorter trips, emissions would fall and cities would become not only cleaner, but also more livable. So again, we've got an inversion form. We've got Phrasal verb here, nice collocation, take a toll on, linking expression. Lovely. Next point. Another key factor is power use, which often goes unnoticed because it happens behind the scenes. Household energy consumption contributes heavily to emissions, especially when electricity is generated from fossil fuels. Simply turning off unused devices or switching to renewable energy providers, for instance, would go a long way towards reducing the public's overall environmental footprint. Okay, so got go a long way towards, nice idiom, another idiom here, behind the scenes, go unnoticed, nice collocation. Okay, it's all these small little things that you can include as a C2 speaker that kind of makes the difference between C1 and C2. Little natural things like this, little collocations to go unnoticed. You know, a C1 speaker would say, people don't notice, da-da-da. To go unnoticed is a kind of more C2 level expression, something that you would just naturally know. Alright, let's take a look at the final bit then, the conclusion. To wrap things up, while all three areas deserve attention, I'd argue that reducing waste should be the top priority, as it's the most immediate and accessible way for the public to take action and make a tangible environmental difference. Okay, so to wrap things up, linking expression, I'd argue that instead of I think that. Tangible difference, that's a really nice collocation there if you want to take that. Tangible, something's tangible, it's very obvious, you know, you can see it very clearly. Tangible difference. Lovely. So there you go. That is how you would make a response to Speaking Part 3 question in your C2 Proficiency exam. Keep it simple, keep it organised, point, explanation, example, follow that, and it should make it a bit easier for you. Get lots of practice. Practice on your own, even if you've got no one for feedback, just practice anyway. If you do need feedback, you can come to me. Like I said, I do have lessons available for you. You can go to www.englishclassesonline.co.uk if you need some help or you would like to take a lesson with me. Before you go, please do give this video a like if it helped you or if you learned something new today. It just helps it to reach more people who are also preparing for their exam as well. And make sure you subscribe to the channel as well. Come back next week so that you don't miss any of my videos. I also upload shorts every day as well, so you can get English tips every day if you need them. If you've got any questions, any comments about the C2 exam, let me know, leave me a comment, and I'll get back to you as soon as I can. That's all from me for today, and I'll see you in another class soon.